Hello, welcome back to the podcast, episode 39 of the Hope of Mum and Dad podcast with me, Fuzz, and
me, Becky.
So the last episode we talked about our first
transfer.
Our first transfer. We did the transfer, waited, it was horrible, waited 2 weeks, and then did a test, turned out it was negative. Not good.
Yeah.
And we kind of messed around and did the test of the wrong day and all this stuff. So that was last episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode we're going to talk about
what happened next and the step to our next part of treatment, basically.
What happened next?
So what happened next is, obviously you have, like, I think they call it a withdrawal bleed when it doesn't work, maybe.
Right.
So you have that, and then they wait for another period. So I think because it was the beginning of July, I had another one end of July, called them back.
FYI, we're jumping in here. We are time traveling a little bit. Lots of crazy stuff going on this year. So we are getting everyone up to speed with our journey. But we're not in July now. But
I think you said July so many times, people could have a drinking game on this podcast.
I never
by
said
you
July.
saying
You said
time
July.
traveling.
I'm
not
time
July.
traveling.
Yeah, did I say? Yeah.
You said July.
I mean time traveling.
So
drink again.
Yeah. We are basically recapping, catching up, letting everyone know what's been going on. So if it doesn't make sense, it's probably because one of us has got confused. But
yeah,
and it's so just bear with us.
Hopefully we'll stay in the right time period.
Mm-hmm.
So it's July 2021, and my first period has arrived after the withdrawal bleed, and I've spoken to the clinic, and end of the July it is. They book us an appointment for the end of August. I think it was around the 24th.
So do they make, when you talk to them, because I remember after our negative test after the first transfer, we kind of had to just wait around for a while, right? There was no clear path on like waiting and stuff.
Yeah.
They just said,
as we've mentioned before in this whole process, there is a lot of waiting around if you're in the NHS. I'm sure it's different if you are having private treatment, but they call you to make appointments, and you have appointments to make other appointments. So when I called them to say that I had my next period, I think they probably said, "Oh, we'll book you in for an appointment."
So you
but
called them?
Yeah, I think so.
We were just waiting, and then you called them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
Right.
And then they send you a letter once that's happened. So the letter came through. Our treatment planning appointment would be on the end of August, 24th, like I said. And for some strange reason, we had to go to Cardiff for our treatment planning appointment, even though we were patients at Neath, Port Talbot. So that was a bit of an odd one.
Well, just to clarify, like before COVID, we would have been at Cardiff for most of it, right?
Yeah.
And then from COVID, they said, okay, so we're going to do a bunch of stuff at Cardiff and a bunch of stuff at Neath. So Neath people will come to Cardiff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Occasionally. So we got to the 24th. For anyone who's worked out the maths, my periods are quite regular, so we were expecting another period to arrive within the next couple of days of this treatment planning appointment. Because it was in Neath, though, obviously the treatment planning appointment is all about what the next steps are, what medication you'll be taking, what the process will be, because this time it was going to be a frozen embryo transfer, which is usually slightly different to a fresh transfer because you don't have to do all the egg collection first. So they talk to you about that, the steps to take, the medication you'll take, and it's quite straightforward, and you do it, and then straight after they prescribe you with the medication so that you've got it ready for the next period that you start. So theoretically, if it had gone well, we could have done a cycle within a couple of days. But because we were at the Cardiff hospital, do you remember this? We were there, and they said, oh, because it's like a Thursday, end of the week, we won't be able to get your notes back to Neath before your period starts. So that was a real pain in the ass.
You think with like email and electronic stuff, like why would you need?
Yeah, that basically meant that we had to wait another month for the treatment planning. So it was disappointing. Like, I'm sure lots of people can empathize that when you are going through it, you just want to do it there and then as quickly as you possibly can.
Paper from
they send your whole notes, like they've got our notes as a big document, and they send couriers back and forth every now and again, and they just said that they wouldn't be able to get them back in time. because I think my period was going to be the next day or the day after.
That's so weird though.
It was really frustrating. Anyway, we came away with our medication. They told us that the treatment would be no injections to prepare for this frozen embryo transfer, just that I would be taking
Progesterone,
estrogen, and then eventually start taking progesterone. So that was okay. We had a wedding that weekend, and I don't know whether it was the stress of it all, but really unusually my period was late, so that was even more annoying. We couldn't have started the cycle because they didn't get our notes to Neath, and then because the period was late, anyway, we couldn't start it, but it was a pain in the ass that the period was late, because essentially we could have, but they hadn't prepped. Basically, if they know you're going to start at that cycle, they book you in because they can work out when your transfer will be. So they book a slot in for your transfer.
and then they give you the trigger shot.
And no, you don't need a trigger shot.
No, the trigger shot's for the egg collection.
They book you in because it's a matter of weeks after your period starts that you have the transfer, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So basically, they would have booked me in for 2 weeks ahead, but because they didn't think they would have got my notes back in time, they didn't book us in, and then my period was late, so I rang them and said, any chance we can go for it? And they couldn't because they hadn't booked us in. So it's just like
There's loads of
one thing
miscommunications and
after
stuff.
another, really frustrating.
It's really might seem like a minor inconvenience if you're like booking, phoning a place up to collect 10 pasties, but when you're trying to like make a human being, and like it's something stupid like
A lot of pressure and emotion riding on these appointments, isn't it? So
I know, and I do think there's like a lot of waste in the NHS. Like there's appointments for appointments, and it's not run amazing. There's so much more room for improvement. Grateful for the service and stuff like that, but literally sending a courier with notes between why are we even going to two places in the first place?
Yeah.
And like, do you know how much a courier costs?
a lot.
Like
Yeah.
like
I don't know why it's not digital anymore. I thought they'd moved away from paper, but
with all the technology and everything we've got, and like you just see how this money just being poured away, like
yeah,
it's
really
like,
sucks.
It's annoying, and I don't know. That's not it is a criticism. It could be run more efficiently for sure. So and then obviously when it comes to us, like
I think they.
It's really annoying though when you've had a failed transfer, you've waited 5 years ish or 3 or whatever, like years,
4.5 years, yeah,
4.5 years, and then you're about to do your transfer and then you can't because of COVID. Nothing we can do about that. But now we're on the books and we're getting going. Let's get this done. And you could have done that attempt then, but no, like it's just frustrating, and I don't even care. I think we're within our rights to be annoyed about all these like weird things. And another weird thing that annoyed me is like sometimes I wasn't allowed in, but sometimes I was.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any difference because
you're on site.
There's other people in there.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense. Like you can go in one day and fill out some paperwork
and go back the next day and not be allowed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For something that's actually more
meaningful
and probably better that I am there.
Yeah, it's a pain.
And then I think about it, the couriers, they're couriering like notes between two places like daily or every other day. That courier has other work too. How many buildings does that guy go into?
I don't know.
Woman or wherever, like this. And then so I can't even be there for my own potential child stuff.
Yeah,
but a guy delivering some coffee or pens can. It's nuts.
It is bonkers. So we were really frustrated, pissed off, cheesed off, whatever you want to call it. Cheesed off. And it would have been really good to just get it in August, because as a teacher I was going back to school. Obviously with COVID, the risks of catching COVID and everything were higher, and lo and behold, I was back in school for 2 weeks. I think they said, don't worry, your periods come late, but we'll start the next cycle, which would have been end of September. After 2 weeks of being in school, maybe 3 weeks.
I think I might have burped on the mic back.
Sexy.
Sorry.
So after 2 or 3 weeks of being in school, I then caught COVID. And then, because I caught COVID, Fuzz caught COVID, and this was literally a few days before my period was about to start. Maybe 5 days before. And this was when you had to isolate for 10 days. So I just had to call them up and say, I've got COVID. We need to cancel this cycle. So that was Joy's.
If we did it like they did it though, you should have said, hi, can I make an appointment with you for tomorrow? And then make the appointment. And then at the appointment say, I need to tell you something. It's important that you answer the appointment tomorrow, and then go to that appointment and then say, oh yeah, I got COVID.
By the way, I've got
can't do it."
COVID, can't do it.
And just be like, samesies.
So that was really shitty. And we were quite poorly with COVID then, weren't we, in September?
Nah, we weren't that bad.
I was quite poorly.
Nah.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah, but you weren't on a... You gotta
I wasn't hospitalised.
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you say stuff about that, because like, if you say, well, it wasn't fun, people think like you're like can't breathe, crawling around on the floor.
No, but flu is not good, and that's what it was like for me.
I don't think you were that bad.
Well, you don't know because you weren't with me. I stayed away from you properly until you caught it.
True.
You literally didn't spend any time with me. So
I tried, and you were like, get out.
Yeah, exactly, because I felt so shit. I couldn't
get
sleep.
Out my bed. And I was like, what?
Yeah, you didn't nurse me or anything.
Did?
No, you
I
didn't.
chucked some bacon rashes and...
No, you didn't.
I did. I just chucked food at you and just
No,
ran.
you didn't.
I did want to spend time with you as well, and you didn't want me to.
Yeah, because I didn't want you to get it, because I felt like shit.
And then I didn't sleep well. I was fine, and then I was like, oh, I'm not going to get it. Then I did.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yep. So we both had it, and that was like the highlight of our autumn. Woo woo. But I guess it's good to get it out of the way. So yeah, another cycle opportunity blown.
Oh, well.
Oh well. Yeah, so basically the next thing was we had to follow up with a call with a consultant at the clinic, and this was just to check that...
I'm not even joking now, but did we have an appointment for that, like to make the appointment for that?
No, it was just a phone call, and then it was a video call with the
But
consultant.
I'm sure there was an appointment to set up the appointment. I'm sure, like...
I think that's happened
weird.
before, but
Yeah.
I don't think it happened this time.
Okay.
Anyway, this was just like basically for the consultant said, well, we can go ahead with your next cycle if you're well enough, like post-COVID, if you're healthy.
And you're like, yeah, I'm fine.
I could have been like on death's door and I would have said I was fine.
Like, I'm fine, honestly.
Yeah. And obviously family were concerned, like, make sure you're going to be okay and healthy and stuff. Like, you don't want to like rush into it.
So you stopped running your regular 10k a day, and you were doing like, you know, somersaults before breakfast and all that. You cut all that out, didn't you?
I cut it all out, all the healthy stuff. No, I was just determined to carry on. I mean, I did have doubts at some points, but that was that. And so she said we would be able to start with my next cycle. So I was expecting we'd hear from the clinic again. She said that she would pass on the details to the nurses and whoever makes the appointments.
Make an appointment
and then,
for an appointment.
Yeah. And then after 2 weeks, we still hadn't heard anything. So I think I phoned up the clinic then and was like, okay, hey, my period's going to start in 2 weeks. I've got my medicine to like start this frozen embryo transfer protocol. What's the deal? And they were like, oh, right, well, that's not really how it works. And I was like, well, the consultant told me that we can go with my next cycle. And they were like,
just
no.
to jump in as well, we've had a message left for us on my phone number from the clinic saying, oh, hi Suzanne, or hi Rhiannon, like for another person, telling them, oh yeah, you need to do this. And I phoned it back and I said, I got a message from you, but I'm not Rhiannon, or whatever, I can't remember the name. I think it's a Welsh, I don't know, but yeah. And I was just like, so, and they were like, oh, okay, no worries then. I was like, well, do you want to like, do you want me to remember the name or go back into the message and listen to it properly? Because if you've given me that message, then that person hasn't got it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what happened to us.
No, basically the consultant, the clinic manager told me that the consultant shouldn't have told us that we can go with our next cycle because there's like a process and an order, and the consultant spoke out of term and told us that we could go with our next cycle, but she shouldn't have said that, and she said she was going to speak to her about it.
Can tell her.
But basically I was like, this isn't okay. This is like one of the only times I've advocated for myself medically and been like, it's not okay for us to be told that we can do it when we've been waiting this long. We couldn't do it in August because you couldn't get a courier to move quick enough.
You couldn't move paper.
We couldn't do it in September because we got COVID, and now you're telling me we can't do it when a consultant told us we could because of, I don't know.
They don't like it.
Because of what? Organisation?
If you complain, they generally say, like, they go down the whole, you're rude, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you got right. Like, people have got expectations. There's a lot of emotional stuff going on with people, you know, especially waiting 4 years.
Yeah. So I was really adamant. I was like, look, my period is starting in 2 weeks and I've got the medication and I'm going to start taking it. So you need to book me an appointment. And basically they did, thankfully. So that was all good. And we were all excited and ready to start going. You'd slowed down on your weddings generally.
Yeah, the whole thing was mega stressful because, like, we got COVID and I was like, don't get COVID. If I get COVID when I'm meant to have a wedding, then I've got a problem.
Yeah.
So I literally wrapped myself up in cotton wool, like, do tests, like, don't do anything risky. I even cut back on my fitness.
Don't do anything risky.
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 And I cut back on my training because I do a lot of training for, like, my triathlon stuff. I'm running, you know, I could be running 30-40k a week and riding a bike for more. And what I've learned is, like, if I've got, like, stuff on, I need to roll back on the training.
Yeah.
But then it makes you really anxious because you're like, shit, how am I going to, like, run? How am I going to ride 180 kilometers then do a marathon if I haven't done this training? And round we go. So
more things get in the way.
It was horrible. It was just a really stressful season. Can't enjoy anything. Can't go anywhere. Just constantly worried about getting COVID. Got COVID. Just waiting for everything to happen. It's just a nightmare.
And so we had 2 weeks of being like, cool, we're gonna do this, we'll have our frozen embryo transfer soon, yay. And then my period came and it was like the worst period I've ever had in my life. It was really stressful. We were I had a couple of really heavy periods this year and I think some of them were, well, you said, do you think it's to do with the medication? But I don't. It might just be hormones, my thyroid stuff.
Yeah, but your hormones are all out of whack.
Or to do with the COVID vaccine. I'm not really sure.
It's a theory that could be true. I don't know.
I started like sometime in the day, called the clinic. I started before 12 o'clock and called the clinic and said, it's cycle day 1. This is what's happening. So that's what happened. And then we went to Morrison's that evening to the supermarket and I'd just been to the toilet and sorted myself out. And then we were walking down the vegetable aisle and we had to turn around and come home because I'd had an accident everywhere. It was like awful, really bad. I'm sure lots of women have had that situation before. Lots of people who menstruate have had that before.
Women?
Yeah, but not all people who menstruate are women.
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
Anyway, yeah, so that was horrific. I mean, really bad. I was crying about it because it wasn't nice. It's probably commonplace for some people every month, but for me it's not common and it was horrible. And basically I ended up calling the doctor. It was so bad in the morning and they put me through to a nurse and they were like, oh, if it carries on getting bad you'll just have to go to A&E. So we were panicky. You had a wedding to go to, so you didn't want to leave me. I couldn't go to work because it was just unmanageable. And the nurse was willing to prescribe me something, but I didn't want to take anything that would affect the medication that I'd started the night before because of the frozen embryo transfer. So it's a lot of messing around, calling the clinic. Nothing was straightforward. Nothing was easy about starting the cycle, was it? No. It was they should have like stressful.
They should have a frequently asked questions or something, and then or like a web page, and you just type in, because I guarantee you that's probably happened to someone else.
Yeah.
You just put it on a thing, and you go, what do I do with this? And then it says, if you are bleeding and you're offered these drugs, it's okay. Because I think it was okay, but we weren't sure.
Yeah. Basically, after a lot of faffing around and messing around, I called the doctor back again and the nurse called me in to have my blood pressure taken. The clinic called me back and said it would be fine to take the tranexamic acid is what she was going to prescribe me. It wouldn't affect the medication. So I went in to have my blood pressure checked and she did a few other vital things and then prescribed me the medication and took a full blood count as well. And after taking a couple of the tablets, it slowed down completely. But then while you weren't here, I had like a funny turn on them where they made me really dizzy. And one of my friends had come around to walk the dog and check in on me. And I said, oh, I've left the door unlocked and I'm on the couch, just to let you know, because I feel like I'm going to collapse. And she was like, okay, I'll be home soon. And that was nice. It was like a really wobbly few days. I think it made me anemic. I'd lost that much blood. So I was put on iron tablets and yeah, just really wiped out. So that was a bit worrying because obviously I carried on taking the medication for the frozen embryo transfer. My body had just been through this huge purge and I was just a bit like under the weather in general. So I think I was just a bit negative and thinking like, what is going to happen? Is it going to work? My body seems to be under a lot of stress and what have you. So
it's not like what you picture as the ideal situation, is it?
I wasn't like in a super healthy place to start it, but we'd started it. It just happened to be that my cycle, my period was what caused me to not feel healthy. And then, yeah, we had the stress of just waiting for a few days because you have to do PCR tests throughout your transfers. So we had to go in for a PCR test on the 5th of November.
So you're just like, if this comes back positive, all gone.
Yeah.
It's so stressful.
Yeah. But at that point, Omicron wasn't around. So I guess we thought we were quite safe because we just had it.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
I guess one of the things you were worried about when we went to the clinic and you talked to them about it a lot, at that time, the advice was if you'd had COVID, not to take lateral flow tests for 90 days because it would come up positive. Yeah. So you were like,
what's the point?
What's the point in doing this PCR test because it's going to come up positive? And then they explain to you, they can tell whether it's an active COVID virus or something.
I think that's bullshit, to be honest. They just said
they're probably just trying to shut you up and be like, but hurry up and get out.
You can take thousands of pounds off someone for, like, if you've had, the advice was,
well, they're not taking money off us, so
no, not money. No, I mean, if it was private, it'd be different because you're paying for it. I meant no. So basically, if you tested positive, then your cycle would be gone, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And if you were paying for it, which we're not, but it's still worth money, still costing them money.
Yeah, if that happened in a private cycle, we'll have to ask anyone who's going through this or have been through us, please let us know. I think they wouldn't charge you for the treatment. You just paid for your medication because you haven't had any appointments so far.
Yeah, but the people's time and everything, like just because nothing got done doesn't mean it hasn't cost the NHS loads of money.
Yeah.
So no, but what I mean is like they go in, they say to us, take this test, and you say that test is going to come back positive. I know it is because they tell us we've had COVID, and they go, oh, just do it anyway. And then you're like, yeah, but then all the appointments we've just had that cost money, they cost money.
Yeah.
Even though we don't pay, they cost money.
Yeah.
Are wasted.
Yeah.
You've just wasted your own money by making us do a test is going to come back positive. And you just wait. Yeah.
Luckily, though, it came back negative and we were fine to continue. So I took it easy for a few days, ate lots of fruit and vegetables, lots of red meat, and just tried to chill out a lot, really. That was it. That was the stressful few months that we went through after already having a shitty summer.
Getting ready for our second last egg.
To use the final egg. And I mean, if this didn't work,
we got one more round.
Yeah.
Which we're super grateful for.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
one more round left after this. And like, this was what I was saying to you, and I had a conversation with
did you
someone.
Say if it didn't work, then at least there's more chance of getting siblings?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I had a conversation with someone I know who's had IVF, and we were like, you want it to work, but you don't want it to work because...
And I was like...
If it works, then it's good because you've got a baby, but you've got no siblings in the freezer.
But like...
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're lucky to be at this point. I think that's when that starts getting a little bit like much. Like it does. It's like we couldn't afford IVF privately, and we're lucky to have it on the NHS. Mm-hmm. So one is amazing. Yeah. No quibbles, no questions, nothing.
Yeah.
Awesome. But I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But I can't let myself do that.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to be just like, no.
And like, just for anyone who doesn't still fully understand the IVF thing, one round with the NHS usually entails your egg collection and all of your transfers, fresh or frozen. So this was still our one round, but like Fuzz said, we still have another round to try. and this was just our last chance in that first cycle. So there'd be no more in the freezer, and if it didn't work, then we start the whole process again, basically.
Yeah, but it's not, if it didn't work, if it doesn't or didn't work or whatever, then we've got another round. So
yeah,
like,
talking in the past tense because it's, well, was it November? Feels like forever ago now.
So I think, are we leaving it there for the next episode?
Yeah, this is it, our riveting episodes at the moment, catching you up.
Yeah. So episode 37?
That was 39.
So 39.
Woo woo.
So we've had our first one, didn't work out, had all that, lots of waiting around, horrible. Getting ready for our second one. Got loads of COVID.
Got loads of COVID.
Got loads of it. Both of us got COVID. Then we had to wait, and there's all the miscommunication and stuff. Then we're finally
starting taking medication for our frozen transfer.
Yeah.
Hooray!
So yeah, make sure you follow along for them.
Tune in to find out how it goes.
Yeah, we're getting quite. We just want to get everyone up to speed with where we are right now. So I think we got like maybe 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
2 more episodes after this, and then we'll be in real time.
Real time. Pew, pew.
Again, we really appreciate everyone getting in touch. If you want to drop us a line anonymously or as yourself, wherever, we get it. Some people want to keep things private and stuff, but if you want to just reach out and speak to us, Becky's on the socials, on Instagram. You can check us out there at Hope and Mum and Dad. We want to hear from you if you want to come on. We need to get some more guests on. It's been a while since we've done any guests. But yeah, if you want to talk about your journey and your stuff and what's been going on, drop us a line. Instagram is probably the best way to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're on YouTube as well. So if you're listening and you haven't watched us, then you can watch us on YouTube. And if you are, and you can obviously get it wherever you can get it, wherever you get podcasts on YouTube, and follow us on the Instagram account. So yeah, we'll leave it there, I think, and then we'll catch up for the next episode soon. So
have a great day.
Yeah, thanks again, guys.
Bye.